What if the darkness in your room isn't empty? What if, just beyond the edge of your vision, something ancient and unknowable is watching, waiting for the moment you let your guard down? Tonight, we step into the chilling world of the shadow people, entities so disturbingly real that thousands across the globe report seeing the same faceless silhouettes, darker than the night itself, silently observing from corners, doorways, and even the foot of your bed. These aren't just fleeting shadows or tricks of the mind. Witnesses describe encounters so vivid, so terrifying, that they leave scars long after the figure vanishes. But what if the truth is even more unsettling? Why do so many people see the same shapes, feel the same suffocating dread, and wake paralyzed by fear? Are these just hallucinations? Or is there something far more sinister lurking in the shadows? Something science can't explain? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll discover secrets and real-life testimonies that will haunt your thoughts and make you question what's truly hiding in the darkness around you. Before we dive deeper, a quick but important reminder. Most people who watch our videos aren't subscribed to the channel. If you crave the most disturbing mysteries and want to keep uncovering the world's darkest secrets with us, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. Don't miss out, because the next story might just change the way you see the night forever. Ready? Let's begin. But remember, once you learn the truth about shadow people, you may never feel alone in the dark again. Shadow people have become one of the most persistent and unsettling urban legends of the modern era. Reports of these shadowy figures span continents and cultures, with witnesses describing nearly identical experiences. Dark, human-shaped silhouettes that seem to observe, follow, or even interact with those who encounter them. Unlike traditional ghost sightings, which often involve translucent or whitish apparitions, shadow people are defined by an intense, absorbing darkness, described by many as blacker than black, as if they absorb all surrounding light. Most accounts agree on several key characteristics. Shadow people typically lack discernible facial features, clothing, or any detail beyond the general outline of a person. In rare cases, some witnesses report seeing glowing red eyes, which only intensifies the fear of the encounter. Their presence is often fleeting. Many people first notice them out of the corner of their eye, only for the figure to vanish when looked at directly. However, recent reports suggest that some individuals have managed to observe these entities head-on and for longer periods, sometimes noticing unsettling details, such as those infamous red eyes. Among the various types of shadow people reported, one figure stands out as especially notorious: the so-called hatman. This entity is often described as a tall, shadowy figure wearing a wide-brimmed hat, sometimes resembling a fedora. The hatman has become an archetype within the urban legend, with online communities dedicated to sharing encounters specifically involving this figure. Unlike other shadowy forms, the hatman is frequently associated with episodes of sleep paralysis and, in some cases, with the excessive use of certain medications like diphenhydramine, commonly known as Benadryl. Witnesses often report a chilling sense of being watched, even when the figure's face is completely featureless. Other reported variants include hooded shadows, ordinary human silhouettes, animal-like shapes, and even amorphous dark masses or smoky orbs. Regardless of their form, all shadow people share the same core characteristic. They appear as solid, impenetrable darkness, often described as darker than the surrounding night. Flashlights and artificial light sources seem unable to pierce their forms, reinforcing the impression that these entities are not simply tricks of the light or imagination. Reports indicate that shadow people often appear during the night, especially in moments of vulnerability, such as when someone wakes up unexpectedly. Witnesses consistently describe a chilling sensation of being watched, with the figures sometimes seen standing motionless in doorways or moving quickly across rooms with unnatural, gliding movements. Many accounts emphasize that these entities seem to avoid direct observation, hiding behind doors or furniture and disappearing the moment someone tries to focus on them. However, there are also testimonies where shadow people appear deliberately intimidating, remaining visible for extended periods and simply watching the observer without moving. A common thread in these experiences is the overwhelming sense of dread or an oppressive presence accompanying the sightings. Some individuals report physical sensations, pressure on the chest or difficulty breathing during encounters, especially in cases linked to sleep paralysis. These physical symptoms, combined with the visual and emotional impact, contribute to the persistent fear and fascination surrounding shadow people. In rare but disturbing reports, witnesses describe the entities making direct physical contact, such as jumping onto their chest or attempting to suffocate them, echoing ancient folklore about night demons and supernatural attackers. Notable cases and personal testimonies have played a significant role in keeping the legend of shadow people alive. One particularly disturbing account comes from a woman who described her experience on the night of her 7th birthday. She recalled waking up suddenly around 2 a.m., feeling an inexplicable sense of unease rather than fear from a nightmare. The sensation that someone was in the room with her, standing in the darkness and silently watching, became overwhelming. As her eyes scanned the room, she noticed the farthest corner was darker than usual. The feeling of being watched intensified with each passing second, accompanied by a deep conviction that whatever was observing her was profoundly malevolent. Another striking report involves a family who experienced repeated encounters with shadow people in their home. According to one family member, everyone in the house described seeing shadowy figures lurking in the darkness at different times. These entities were neither perceived as good nor evil. They simply existed, always present on the periphery of vision. In some cases, the encounters became more interactive, with the figures appearing to communicate with each other or even discuss the person witnessing them. These rare, multisensory experiences add a new layer of terror to the phenomenon, suggesting that shadow people may be more than just fleeting hallucinations or tricks of the mind. Theories attempting to explain the shadow people phenomenon are as varied as the reports themselves. In paranormal circles, these entities are often described as spiritual manifestations or supernatural beings. Some cultures associate them with demons or malevolent spirits, while others see them as omens or harbingers of misfortune. In Middle Eastern folklore, stories of shadowy creatures known as jinn bear a striking resemblance to modern shadow people encounters. Indigenous traditions also recount tales of dark beings lurking at the edge of forests or waiting in the periphery of human settlements, feeding on fear or confusion. On the scientific front, several plausible explanations have been proposed. Sleep paralysis is one of the most frequently cited causes, as it can induce vivid hallucinations and a sense of presence in the room while the body remains immobile. During these episodes, sufferers often report seeing indistinct or shadowy figures approaching or standing nearby. Sleep deprivation, neurological disturbances, and certain medications, especially those with hallucinogenic or deliriant properties, have all been linked to increased likelihood of shadow people sightings. Notably, excessive use of substances like diphenhydramine, Benadryl, is associated with particularly vivid and terrifying encounters, including the infamous hatman. Shadow people have become a significant part of contemporary pop culture, appearing in various forms of media and entertainment. An episode of the 1985 television series The Twilight Zone, titled The Shadow Man, featured a teenager who discovers a shadow person living under his bed. In the 1998 video game LSD Dream Emulator, players can encounter a humanoid figure known as the Gray Man, which closely resembles the Hatman archetype described in modern reports. The 2007 novel John Dies at the End also prominently features shadow people as part of its unsettling narrative. These references in fiction and gaming have helped cement the image of shadow people in the collective imagination, blurring the lines between folklore, personal experience, and entertainment. The internet has played a crucial role in amplifying the shadow people phenomenon. The late-night radio show Coast to Coast AM was instrumental in popularizing modern beliefs about these entities, especially after a widely discussed episode aired in April 2001. Listeners were encouraged to submit drawings of the shadow figures they had seen, and many of these illustrations were later shared on the show's website. Online communities on platforms like Reddit and 4chan have dedicated entire forums to the discussion of shadow people encounters, with users sharing personal stories, theories, and even photographic evidence. This digital proliferation has created a feedback loop where exposure to the legend increases the likelihood of individuals interpreting ambiguous experiences as encounters with shadow people. Some of the most compelling scientific research into the shadow people phenomenon focuses on the brain's interpretation of sensory information. Studies have shown that stimulation of the left temporoparietal junction, TPJ, can induce the sensation of a shadow presence nearby, even when no one is present. In one documented case published in Nature, a patient consistently reported feeling a mysterious figure behind her whenever this brain region was electrically stimulated. This suggests that the brain, when deprived of normal sensory cues or under neurological stress, may generate the perception of an external presence as a byproduct of disrupted self-awareness. Psychiatric conditions such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder have also been linked to visual hallucinations involving shadowy figures. These experiences are often described as seeing indistinct human shapes lurking at the edge of vision, sometimes accompanied by feelings of paranoia or dread. The neuropsychiatrist Olaf Blanke has suggested that the shadow people phenomenon may provide insight into how the brain constructs the sense of self. When the integration of sensory information is disturbed, the brain may misinterpret its own body signals, leading to the perception of a second, shadowy presence that is mistaken for an intruder. The persistence of shadow people in popular culture is not merely the result of isolated experiences, but also the product of a digital age where stories and images can be shared instantaneously. The internet has allowed for the rapid exchange of personal testimonies, illustrations, and theories, creating a vast archive of collective fear and fascination. Platforms like Reddit and 4chan have entire threads dedicated to the phenomenon, where users post their own encounters, debate possible explanations, and sometimes even share audio or video recordings in an attempt to prove the existence of these entities. This constant sharing reinforces the legend, making it more likely that new witnesses will interpret ambiguous experiences as encounters with shadow people. Experts note that the viral nature of these stories can contribute to a psychological feedback loop. The more someone is exposed to tales of shadow people, the more likely they are to notice or believe they notice similar phenomena in their own lives. This effect is especially pronounced among younger audiences, who may be more suggestible or eager to participate in online communities. As a result, the legend of shadow people has not only endured, but evolved, adapting to new cultural contexts and technological platforms, ensuring its continued relevance and power to disturb. Psychologists have long noted that belief in shadow people can have a profound effect on individuals' perceptions and mental health. For some, the expectation or fear of encountering these entities can create a heightened state of alertness, leading to sleep disturbances, anxiety, and even panic attacks. This phenomenon is particularly common among those who have read about or discussed shadow people extensively online. The power of suggestion, combined with the brain's tendency to fill in gaps during moments of uncertainty or sensory deprivation, can transform ordinary shadows or ambiguous shapes into terrifying presences. Despite the growing body of scientific research, the allure of the shadow people legend remains strong. The consistency of reports across cultures and generations suggests that the phenomenon taps into a universal aspect of human psychology, a deep-seated fear of the unknown and the unseen. Whether interpreted as supernatural entities, manifestations of the subconscious, or neurological misfires, shadow people continue to haunt the collective imagination. Their presence at the threshold between sleep and wakefulness, reality and illusion, ensures that the legend will persist as long as people continue to experience the unexplained in the darkness of night. The social impact of shadow people extends beyond individual experiences, shaping group discussions and even influencing collective behavior. Online forums and social media platforms have created spaces where people can share their stories without fear of ridicule, leading to a sense of community among those who feel haunted by these encounters. This collective validation often intensifies personal beliefs, making it harder for individuals to dismiss their experiences as mere imagination or sleep-related phenomena. As more people come forward with similar stories, the legend grows, feeding on itself and becoming a self-sustaining cycle of fear and fascination. Despite the rational explanations offered by science and medicine, the emotional power of shadow people encounters cannot be underestimated. For many, these experiences leave lasting psychological scars, manifesting as recurring nightmares, insomnia, or a persistent fear of the dark. The phenomenon's ability to blur the line between reality and hallucination, folklore and fact, ensures that shadow people will remain a potent and disturbing presence in the modern imagination. Whether viewed as supernatural entities, neurological anomalies, or cultural constructs, their shadowy forms continue to provoke unease and curiosity in equal measure. The digital age has not only amplified the spread of shadow people stories, but also transformed the way people process and interpret their experiences. With every new post, drawing, or video uploaded to forums and social media, the phenomenon gains fresh layers of detail and credibility. This constant exchange of information can create a powerful feedback loop, where exposure to the legend increases the likelihood of individuals interpreting ambiguous visual or auditory stimuli as encounters with shadow people. For some, reading about these entities online can lead to heightened anxiety or even trigger first-hand experiences, especially during periods of stress or sleep deprivation. This cycle is particularly evident among younger generations, who are more likely to encounter the legend through viral posts, horror-themed YouTube channels, or online challenges. The accessibility of these stories, coupled with the human tendency to seek patterns and meaning in the unknown, ensures that the legend remains dynamic and ever-evolving. As more people share their accounts, the boundaries between folklore, personal testimony, and psychological phenomenon blur, reinforcing the presence of shadow people in the collective imagination and making the legend a living, breathing entity in the digital era. The enduring power of the shadow people legend lies in its unique position at the intersection of personal experience, cultural myth, and scientific ambiguity. Unlike many urban legends that are quickly dismissed as fiction, reports of shadow people are often rooted in vivid, emotionally charged encounters that feel undeniably real to those who experience them. This sense of authenticity is reinforced by the consistency of descriptions across different cultures and time periods, suggesting a phenomenon that transcends simple coincidence or cultural invention. For many, the inability to fully explain these encounters, despite advances in neuroscience and psychology, only deepens the mystery and the fear. What truly sets shadow people apart is their ability to exploit the natural limitations of human perception. In the darkness, when the mind is most vulnerable and the senses are deprived, the brain becomes susceptible to misinterpretation and suggestion. The appearance of a shadowy figure at the edge of vision, especially during moments of stress or sleep paralysis, taps into primal fears of the unknown and the unseen. This psychological vulnerability ensures that the legend will persist, continually adapting to new contexts and technologies, and remaining a source of fascination and dread for generations to come. One of the most striking aspects of the shadow people phenomenon is how it blurs the boundaries between personal belief, collective myth, and scientific explanation. While some individuals are convinced that their encounters are proof of supernatural entities, others see them as hallucinations rooted in neurological or psychological conditions. This ambiguity is precisely what keeps the legend alive. As Dr. Jack Potts, a psychiatrist who has studied the phenomenon, points out, people don't report seeing shadow dogs or shadow birds. They see shadow people, always in human form, standing in doorways or following them down hallways. This detail suggests that the phenomenon taps into a primal fear deeply embedded in the human psyche. The fear of being watched or hunted by something unknown and possibly malevolent. The persistence of shadow people as a modern urban legend is also fueled by the way these experiences are shared and validated in the digital age. Online communities, podcasts, and social media have created a global network where stories can be exchanged instantly, reinforcing both belief and skepticism. Each new testimony, drawing, or video adds another layer to the myth, making it more complex and harder to dismiss as mere fantasy. This cycle of sharing and validation ensures that the legend continues to evolve, adapting to new cultural contexts and technological platforms. Whether explained by science or embraced as supernatural, shadow people remain a source of fascination and fear, haunting the edges of our collective imagination. The phenomenon of shadow people represents a fascinating intersection between frightening personal experiences, documented medical conditions, and the evolution of an urban legend in the digital age. The consistency of reports across different cultures and geographic regions suggests something deeper than mere coincidence. This widespread similarity in descriptions, dark, human-like silhouettes that move with intent and often induce a profound sense of dread, raises questions about the universality of certain fears and the ways in which the human mind interprets ambiguous stimuli, especially in states of vulnerability or altered consciousness. Whether the explanation is paranormal, neuroscientific, psychological, or a complex combination of these factors, shadow people continue to terrify individuals around the world. The proliferation of online accounts has only intensified the phenomenon, creating a feedback loop where exposure to the legend can influence personal experiences and perceptions. As more people share their stories, the legend becomes more deeply rooted, blurring the boundaries between subjective experience and objective reality, and ensuring that the fear of shadow people remains a persistent and disturbing presence in modern culture. The proliferation of online accounts and forums has allowed the shadow people phenomenon to reach a global audience, transforming isolated experiences into a vast, interconnected narrative. As people from different backgrounds share their stories, patterns emerge, such as the frequent appearance of the hatman or the recurring sensation of being watched from a darkened corner. These similarities reinforce the sense that shadow people are not just a product of individual imagination, but part of a larger, collective experience that transcends cultural and linguistic barriers. The accessibility of digital platforms means that anyone, anywhere, can contribute to and be influenced by this ever-expanding legend. This digital amplification has also led to the emergence of new variants and interpretations of the phenomenon. Some users report seeing shadow people interacting with one another, while others describe encounters that involve physical sensations, such as pressure on the chest or difficulty breathing. These multi-sensory experiences add complexity to the legend, blurring the line between subjective perception and objective reality. As the legend continues to evolve, fueled by both personal testimony and scientific inquiry, shadow people remain a powerful and unsettling presence in the modern psyche, embodying the persistent human fear of the unknown. The psychological impact of shadow people encounters is often underestimated. Many individuals who report these experiences describe lasting effects, such as chronic insomnia, recurring nightmares, and a persistent fear of being alone in the dark. For some, the anxiety becomes so severe that it interferes with daily life, leading to avoidance behaviors and heightened sensitivity to ordinary shadows or nighttime noises. These symptoms are not always alleviated by rational explanations or medical interventions, highlighting the powerful grip that fear and suggestion can have on the human mind. In contemporary culture, the legend of shadow people continues to adapt and evolve. New reports and artistic representations appear regularly on social media, podcasts, and streaming platforms, ensuring that the phenomenon remains relevant for each new generation. This ongoing cycle of storytelling and reinterpretation blurs the boundaries between personal experience, folklore, and collective myth. As a result, shadow people have become more than just a paranormal curiosity. They are now a symbol of the deep, universal anxieties that persist in the modern world, embodying the ever-present fear of what might be lurking just beyond the limits of our perception. The role of suggestion and expectation in shadow people encounters has been widely discussed by both researchers and skeptics. Exposure to stories, images, or even brief mentions of shadow people can prime individuals to notice ambiguous shapes or fleeting shadows in their environment, especially during periods of stress or fatigue. This phenomenon is particularly pronounced among those who spend significant time in online communities dedicated to paranormal experiences, where the constant exchange of stories and artwork reinforces the idea that these encounters are both common and significant. As a result, the legend becomes self-perpetuating, with each new account adding credibility and detail to the collective narrative. Despite the influence of suggestion, many witnesses remain convinced that their experiences cannot be explained solely by psychological or neurological factors. The emotional intensity and vividness of these encounters often leave a lasting impression, leading some individuals to seek out others with similar stories for validation and support. This search for meaning and community further entrenches the phenomenon in popular culture, ensuring that shadow people remain a subject of fascination and debate. Whether viewed as supernatural entities, neurological anomalies, or a complex interplay of both, the legend of shadow people continues to evolve, adapting to new cultural contexts and technological advancements. The enduring fascination with shadow people is rooted in their ability to inhabit the gray area between subjective experience and rational explanation. For many, these encounters feel undeniably real, marked by vivid sensations, emotional intensity, and a lingering sense of dread that persists long after the event itself. Even when confronted with scientific or psychological explanations, witnesses often struggle to reconcile the visceral nature of their experiences with the idea that they might be mere hallucinations or tricks of the mind. This tension between belief and skepticism fuels ongoing debate, both in academic circles and online communities, about what shadow people truly represent. Ultimately, the legend of shadow people persists because it taps into universal fears and uncertainties, fear of the dark, of the unknown, and of losing control over one's own mind and senses. As technology continues to evolve and new generations discover these stories through digital media, the phenomenon adapts and grows, taking on new forms while retaining its core elements. Whether viewed as supernatural entities, neurological anomalies, or a reflection of deep-seated anxieties, shadow people remain a compelling and disturbing presence in the modern imagination, ensuring that the line between reality and legend remains forever blurred. One reason shadow people remain such a powerful urban legend is their anchoring in experiences that feel tangible and immediate, even if the underlying causes may be neurological or psychological. Unlike other myths that are easily dismissed as fiction, these encounters are often described in vivid detail by people who are convinced of their reality. The stories are reinforced by the fact that witnesses rarely report seeing shadow animals or shadow objects. The apparitions are almost always humanoid, standing in doorways or lurking at the edge of vision. This detail, as noted by psychiatrist Dr. Jack Parts, points to something deeply rooted in the human psyche: a primal fear of being watched or hunted by something unknown. The validation provided by online communities and the rapid sharing of personal testimonies only intensifies the phenomenon. As more people share their stories, the legend of shadow people becomes a self-sustaining cycle where each new account adds credibility and detail to the collective narrative. This cycle blurs the line between individual perception and cultural myth, making it increasingly difficult to separate subjective experience from objective reality. In this way, shadow people embody the universal human fear of the unknown, manifested as dark figures that haunt the periphery of our vision and the boundaries of our understanding. The ambiguous nature of shadow people, hovering between supernatural legend and scientific explanation, ensures that the phenomenon remains both compelling and deeply unsettling. While many urban legends can be easily dismissed as stories or hoaxes, the accounts of shadow people are often rooted in vivid, personal experiences that leave a lasting psychological impact. This is further complicated by the fact that scientific research, while offering plausible explanations like sleep paralysis, neurological misfires, or the influence of substances, does not fully dispel the sense of reality felt by witnesses. The inability to definitively categorize these encounters as either hallucination or genuine paranormal activity keeps the legend alive and evolving. As the digital age continues to connect people across the globe, the legend of shadow people adapts, gaining new details and interpretations with every shared story. Online communities validate and amplify these experiences, blurring the line between individual memory and collective myth. The persistent fear of being watched, the chilling sensation of a presence in the darkness, and the universal dread of the unknown ensure that shadow people will remain a powerful force in modern folklore. Whether interpreted as manifestations of psychological distress, neurological phenomena, or entities from beyond our understanding, their shadowy forms continue to haunt the edges of human perception. Ultimately, what makes shadow people such a powerful and enduring urban legend is their foundation in experiences that feel immediate and real, even when scientific explanations are available. Unlike legends that are easily dismissed as fiction, these encounters are described with a level of detail and conviction that suggests a genuine psychological or neurological event. The fact that witnesses almost never report seeing shadow animals or shadow objects, but instead consistently describe humanoid figures, points to a deep-seated fear within the human psyche, a fear of the unknown, personified by the presence of something watching from the darkness. As the boundary between the supernatural and the scientific remains blurred, shadow people continue to exert a disturbing fascination over the human imagination. The proliferation of online testimonies, scientific studies, and cultural representations ensures that the legend will persist, adapting to new contexts and technologies. Whether interpreted as supernatural entities, products of the mind, or a complex interplay of both, shadow people remain a chilling reminder of how fear and mystery can thrive in the shadows of our collective consciousness. The enduring legacy of shadow people is a testament to the power of shared human experience and the mysteries that still linger at the edges of scientific understanding. As more accounts are documented and analyzed, it becomes clear that the phenomenon is not restricted by geography, culture, or age. Reports come from all corners of the world, from children and adults alike. This universality points to a deep psychological or neurological root, perhaps tied to the way humans process fear, darkness, and uncertainty. The recurring image of a humanoid shadow, always watching from the periphery, resonates with a primal part of the mind that is attuned to threats lurking just out of sight. In the end, whether shadow people are interpreted as supernatural beings, products of the mind, or an intersection of both, their presence in modern folklore is undeniable. The legend thrives in the digital age, evolving with each new testimony and scientific study and blurring the boundaries between reality and myth. For those who have encountered these figures, the experience is rarely forgotten, leaving behind a lingering sense of unease that can haunt the darkness for years to come. As long as there are shadows and unanswered questions, the phenomenon of shadow people will continue to captivate, disturb, and inspire fear across generations. The phenomenon of shadow people ultimately serves as a mirror for the deepest anxieties of the human mind. Their persistent presence in countless personal accounts, scientific studies, and online communities demonstrates how powerful and universal the fear of the unknown can be. As much as science has advanced in understanding sleep disorders, neurological anomalies, and the effects of suggestion, there remains a space, sometimes narrow, sometimes vast, where experience cannot be fully explained or dismissed. This space is where legends thrive and where shadow people continue to reside, haunting not just bedrooms and dark hallways, but also the collective psyche of those who seek answers to unanswerable questions. In this sense, shadow people are more than just another urban legend. They are a living testament to the complexity of human perception and the enduring allure of mystery. Whether interpreted as supernatural entities, psychological projections, or a convergence of both, their story is a reminder that some fears are too deeply rooted to be easily dispelled. As long as there are shadows, uncertainty, and the human need to make sense of the inexplicable, the legend of shadow people will endure, always lurking at the edge of understanding, waiting to be seen, and never fully explained. Shadow people exemplify how certain legends gain strength precisely because they resist easy categorization. The phenomenon sits at the crossroads of folklore, psychology, and neurology, drawing from each field without being fully explained by any. This ambiguity is what allows the legend to thrive in the digital age, where stories are shared instantly and new witnesses add their voices to an ever-growing archive. For every scientific study that attempts to demystify the experience, there are countless personal testimonies that reinforce its reality for those who have lived through it. The legend's adaptability ensures that it remains relevant, morphing to fit new cultural anxieties and technological landscapes. In the end, shadow people endure not only as a source of fear, but also as a symbol of the mysteries that persist at the edge of human understanding. Their presence in stories, art, and even scientific literature is a reminder that some questions may never have definitive answers. As long as there are shadows, both literal and metaphorical, there will be those who see something moving within them and who feel the cold gaze of the unknown watching from just beyond the reach of light. Shadow people in this sense are more than just a legend. They are a reflection of the enduring human need to confront, explain, and sometimes simply endure the darkness. You've just seen how the legend of shadow people blurs the line between reality and nightmare. But now I want to know, do you believe these encounters are just tricks of the mind? Or is there something truly unexplainable lurking in the darkness? Have you ever experienced anything like this? Tell your story or share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm reading everything. Don't forget, subscribing and turning on notifications is the only way to make sure you never miss our next deep dive into the world's most disturbing mysteries. Your subscription keeps this community growing and helps us bring even more chilling stories to light. And if you want to keep exploring the unknown, click on the next video now showing on your screen. It's even more unsettling. Thanks for watching. I'm Jack, and I'll see you in the shadows.